Breaking news in our HQ studios in the NFL. Jameis Winston, according to reports, has been named the Week 1 starter for the Saints there. You remember Winston, of course, came over last year, spent a lot of time in his career with the Bucs, back up to Drew Brees, who retired this offseason. Jameis in battle with Taysom Hill when we talk about QB1, but taking a look at it, he's been pretty good. The last previous preseason game, 9-10 and 123, along with 2 touchdowns against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So it seems like Sean Payton has found his guy. Taking a look at this schedule here, you look at it, a little bumpy road. You open up with Aaron Rodgers and the Packers in Week 1, followed by the Panthers, and then at New England, the Giants, Washington, then you get that bye. If you're talking about that division, of course, you got to deal with the Bucs, the defending champs, Panthers, you just don't know, and the Falcons trying to find their stride. We're with Matt Ryan as well. But Jason, when we're talking about Jameis Winston, it's interesting to see how it might pan out. It seems like so far, you look at the numbers in 2019, remember that epic season where he threw for over 5,000, first in the league, 33 passing touchdowns, but then the 30-30 club with the 30 interceptions, the most that season, of course, with the Buccaneers. Let's bring in senior NFL writer Jonathan Jones joining us here with this breaking news with Jameis Winston taking over as the starter. We kind of saw this leading into the previous preseason games, but now it seems like it's official.
Yeah, and it was the obvious call for Sean Payton, and really it was dreadfully obvious after that Jacksonville Jaguars game, seeing what Jameis Winston was able to do, pushing the football down the field and doing so effectively on his dimes of touchdown passes to Marquez Callaway, who was turning in truly into a #1 wide receiver in the wake of Michael Thomas, who's likely going to miss plenty of time for the New Orleans Saints with that foot. So, yeah, Jameis has sort of been, I think, the front runner in a lot of people's minds. It's hard to say what has been going on at practice. Certainly in the first exhibition that they played against the Ravens, the Saints had 6 turnovers. It was very difficult to discern whether Taysom or Jameis played better. They had almost identical stat lines, interceptions that weren't necessarily their fault. And so in the second exhibition, Sean Payton said, all right, let's flip the script. If Taysom started in the first exhibition, we're going to have Jameis start against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And Jameis absolutely showed out in that game, no question about it. And it became very clear and obvious to those watching that it was going to be Jameis eventually. Now, when Sean Payton wants to say officially, we know that he likes to play certain games with the media. I alluded to this a couple of days ago here on CBS Sports HQ, that the starter would be established well before Sean Payton ever established the starter with the media. I anticipate that will continue, but Jameis Winston now entrenched as the starter, which would probably indicate to me with this upcoming game this weekend against the Arizona Cardinals, Jameis would not play. Taysom would get the snaps. Ian Book as well would be on display, especially with trade interest out there in the former Notre Dame quarterback. But yeah, Jameis Winston, no question about it, especially after the Jags game, the starter for the New Orleans Saints.
So the last time we saw Jameis, and we were talking about as a starter, 2019, you got to go back to the Bucs numbers when he threw for over 5,000, 30 interceptions. That's the one thing we always say. Looking at this team and this group here, of course, a different, Michael Thomas might not be there. We don't know how that's going to pan out. How does this offense look when you rank them among the others across the league?
Well, they have Sean Payton there, so they're always going to be quality. There's no question about that. They have Alvin Kamara, who, along with Christian McCaffrey, is the best Swiss Army knife from the running back position in the entire NFL. And we know that Taysom didn't really use Alvin Kamara in the same way that Drew Brees used Alvin Kamara when Taysom was in there for those 4 games in Drew's stead when he was out with injury last season. And so he has the safety valve there in Alvin Kamara. He has a stout offensive line with a little bit of depth also there in New Orleans. They've really built up that offensive line through the draft and free agency over the past couple of years, paid close attention to that, Mickey Loomis and his staff. So I think that Jameis has a good chance to succeed here. He obviously has to cut down on the turnovers, and Sean Payton has said, that's not going to happen in my system. And it's hard to believe that if he were creeping anywhere close to 30 interceptions or on that sort of interception rate, that he would be able to get to 30 with Taysom Hill there waiting in the wings. So, what's this offense going to look like? Is Marquez Callaway going to continue that fantastic training camp that he's had, build off of those incredible catches that he had against the Jacksonville Jaguars? Can he be that number one, that X receiver week in and week out? Obviously to be determined there for the guy who's never had to do that before. But if this training camp is any indication, he is ready to take on a much greater role, and that is beautiful news to the ears of Jameis Winston.
When we look at the NFC, JJ, here, you talk about, of course, the defending champs, the Bucs, right in their division, the Packers as well. We're talking about contenders on that side of the conference. Are they up there top 5, top 6 with Jameis now at the helm?
No. No. I mean, this is not a team that can win the Super Bowl. The Bucs are very clearly the best team in that division. There's no question about it. Aaron Rodgers' return to the Green Bay Packers. You look out there at the NFC West, and I really believe that you have 3 teams, if they can stay healthy, in the Rams, the Seahawks, and the 49ers, that can compete. And so, I mean, if we're going to say that the Saints are the 6th, right? I've named 5 teams. If you want to put the Saints at 6, then sure, but really there's a cliff after 5. So if they're 6, then congratulations, but they're not really on that echelon. I would be very, very surprised to see the New Orleans Saints playing in the NFC title game in late January and playing into early February this year, whether it's Jameis, whether it was Taysom, whomever else it may be. They're going to have a quality offense. They have some question marks, big question marks on defense. Certainly, what are they going to do there at the interior pass rush with David Ayamada being suspended for the first couple of games? You have question marks in the defensive backfield, potential suspension looming there for Marshawn Lattimore. And so, no, I don't think that they are among the elite of the NFC, but can they get a wild card if Jameis cuts out the turnovers but keeps his 5,000 yards passing? Yes, absolutely.
All right, as you mentioned, of course, they do have Sean Payton in that offensive scheme. You add Jameis, might be cooking a little bit there in the NFC. As always, Jonathan Jones breaking it down with the breaking news. Jameis Winston, the Week 1 starter for the Saints against the Packers.
Oh, you're going to get those 2 revenge games for Jameis against the Bucs?
Yeah, we're going to get him. Is he going to be eating W's? That's the question.
Well, Saints fans and those down in NOLA and the Big Easy certainly are hoping that Jameis Winston can do what he did in 2019, which was be a fantasy stud, except for the interception part of it, of course. We're taking a look at the fantasy projection for one Jameis Winston. It'll be interesting to see. I've got my guy Dave Richard here. 22nd for a quarterback ranking. I don't know. I think that's a little low. I think he could be higher.
Want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis. No yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.